Markland.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, Josh Holter, owner and founder of The BioDude. You can visit my website, thebiodude.com. Check out my store, BioDude Houston, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Subscribe to me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff. And today, I'm really excited. I told you guys I was going to have a lot of different people hosted on my channel. And today, I have somebody really special. Somebody who has worked with me since I was Genesis Exotics. His name is Robyn Markland. Not only does he own the Reptile Report, he owns THG Heat and started Pro Exotics. And I'm really excited to have him be hosted here on the channel to talk about what he's doing for the hobby, what he's done for the hobby, and where we're taking this hobby with our innovative platforms, as well as things that, you know, we have noticed that we really want to talk to you guys about. And I've been looking forward to this since I first accepted this. So, Robyn, tell my viewers, tell BioDude what's going on, man.
Right on. Well, thanks, Josh. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here in the South Houston area. World of BioDude. Your showroom is awesome. The animals are really rad. There's a lot of cool stuff, nice variety of stuff. The facility, I got a chance to tour around the facility, see the production, see shipping, see packaging, which personally I really dig seeing that kind of stuff. I really like the logistics of business. So to be able to see the facility has been really great. As Josh mentioned, I mean, I've known you since you were really just getting started in the business.
In Pennsylvania is Genesis Exotics.
Yeah.
And then I first connected.
So I've been able to watch Josh grow his business and grow his market. That's been really great. For myself, I've been in the industry 25 years now. It's been a long time. I mean, when I started in reptiles, it wasn't even this century. It was last century in 1993. For close to 20 years, I did livestock. I bred animals, bred snakes and lizards. We did, you know, leopard geckos. We did early crested geckos. A lot of rat snakes we did. Certainly we did lots of ball pythons.
And that's where the whole Pro Exotics.
That was Pro Exotics time. Yeah, Pro Exotics Reptiles. We started as a reptile breeder. We also did monitor lizards. That was kind of my focus and specialty. I've always got a soft spot for monitors, big stuff and small stuff. In the end, we did a lot of monitors, which I feel for myself is the #1 captive lizard available. I know beardeds are popular, Euromastics are popular, a lot of weird little lizards people do. But for me, the monitor is the #1 species I enjoyed working with. Social animal, you could do them in small groups. Size-wise, easy to contain in a cage. Water monitor is really a cool animal, but it's a big giant animal. Yeah. That's hard for most people to keep in a cage. So I like species that you could reasonably keep, like a regular hobbyist or herper, or somebody who's looking for a pet could reasonably keep. That's what I like. I love all your setups here because they are detailed and somewhat extravagant in the way you set them up, but they're not gigantic. It's not an 8-foot or 10-foot.
They're not like over the top, like you get it.
And I thought that was really important because I wanted my, customers and clients to be able to buy species that they could reasonably house in a responsible, productive way, good for them, good for the animal. So that's why I really like the monitor because it's 20 inches long. Tons of personality.
Little velociraptors.
Yeah, and that's why I was always drawn to lizards more than snakes because of the personality and interaction side of things. I really did like snakes. Like I said, we did mandarin rat snakes. We did a bunch of Asian rat snakes, like the cock's-eye, porphyraceus stuff. Very, very cool. Eventually, we transitioned out of the livestock side of things. Not through a choice of our own. We had a facility fire in 2011 that wiped out our whole collection. That was very traumatic. That tore a piece of my heart out. But at the same time, we knew that we wanted to stay in the reptile world and we wanted to move forward. And we were in the very early years of ShipYourReptiles at that point. So we focused on that. And then right after our fires, when we started the Reptile Report, I kind of been sitting on that idea for a couple of years.
Yes.
And that was a time for new starts and for new adventures. So I decided we'd try to execute that idea in that website. And so that was when that started. It's grown to be a pretty good size Facebook page, for sure. And then over the years, I've had other reptile businesses. We have our THG Heat business. We do heat tape and things like that, along with the Reptile Report. And then now I'm kind of post ShipYourReptiles time, so I'm looking for new adventures. And so I just started a new company a couple weeks ago, and we're going to try a completely different tack. I've done the livestock
really
thing.
To talk about that later. Yeah.
Yeah, we've done livestock and breeding. We've done some merchandise, like as a online seller during the Pro Exotics days. We've done the service. I've done the service thing with the shipping, and I've done kind of the informational thing with the Reptile Report. And so now the new venture is going to be more product related, manufacturing, and I'm looking forward to that. My focus is always kind of be how can I fit best into the reptile world, the reptile industry,
and continue to help change it for the better.
Yeah. Always, what kind of positive impact and can we do moving forward? So that's always been the focus, and I've been fortunate enough, like I said, to be around for 25 plus years now. When I started in 1993, I did not anticipate it was going to be a whole career.
You're like, oh, I love this gig.
Decades later,
Let's see it.
Here we are.
Yeah, that's amazing. And let me tell you guys something. As ShipYourReptiles, that's just another it's not a notch on Robyn's belt. That's just another experience that he has as an in-depth member of our community. Let me tell you guys something. If it wasn't for everyone, a part of that is I would not be here speaking to you guys. I would not be here being able to promote proper husbandry, innovation, and just to talk about these reptiles, because I wouldn't have had the ability to understand shipping. I wouldn't have had the ability to understand, what I have to do to continually better that. And that's something that, that Robyn and that entire team can really pride themselves on, in fact, of how that has changed the community for the better. And that's something that has really stood out to me in regards to Robyn here. Obviously, I'm only 32 years old. When I was 7 years old, he was in the game, already getting his feet wet, knowing what was good. But he's seen it. Yeah, but you've seen it from almost its infant stage to not necessarily its infant, but its very young stage to how it has evolved now, and how we're able to use your different platforms, but how the community is changing to continually make it better for all of our animals and for the keepers. And
it's fascinating how sometimes we use hobby and industry kind of interchangeably. When we talk about the hobby, it's more of the enjoyment of the interaction with the animals and the setups and stuff. The industry is, when I talk about the industry, I'm talking about like the business side of things. When we first started, early 90s, that's just when it was kind of evolving into this thing where you could have it as a career and do this as a business. And I've been around a long time, but there's folks been around a lot longer than me. The Dave Barkers and the Tommy Crutchfields, the Mark Bells. I mean, some of those guys were doing it in the 60s, and through the 70s. Oh, absolutely. And so those were real pioneers of what we do, and a number of those guys are still around today. Working in the industry as well. Dave Barker's still breeding pythons and doing his thing. And just here in Texas, by the way.
How do I not know? That's it's crazy. Not to digress, but just a couple hours ago, him and I were talking about just how this hobby has progressed and different things like that. And he has dropped so many individuals' names, and I'm like, I don't know who that is, and I feel almost baffled that I don't know, because I haven't been in this career as long as that long, but I at least have a good sense of who has helped change the hobby for the better. But what I really learned these past couple hours is there's so much more that goes into what it is that we all do, with whether if you're just a ball python breeder, whether if you're just if you breed poison dart frogs and sell supplies, whatever. not only do we all go in a circle, that all of us, you know, most of us share that common theme, and I think that aim to progress for the better. Would you agree with that? Like with how,
Yeah.
what these different breeders
The
have
good
done?
quality folks in our industry and hobby, the good folks, they're all interested in moving forward the world of reptiles.
Yep.
And they're all interested in making great relationships and supporting and working together with each other. Now, I do find it funny that Josh doesn't know some of the real pioneers that I've been with for decades, but
I tried.
part of that is he's so like, you're so hyper focused, right, on being the bio dude and growing your business, and there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, as you mature through the business, you inevitably come across these other folks.
Yep.
You know, to meet Dave and Tracy Barker, or Ron Tremper lived here for decades. He just moved to Costa Rica, so great for
started
Ron.
the leopard gecko.
He is the founder of the leopard gecko
the
world.
The carrot tail, the albinos, he did it all, right? If I'm not mistaken. Like,
Well, I mean, in the 90s, it goes back before that. In the 90s, as Pro Exotics, we were the first partner with him to help put the designer leopard gecko out in the world. This was before any kind of carrot tails or albinos or anything like that.
just
We
the
were talking about,
standard leopard gecko.
there was high yellows, and there were jungle leopard geckos.
I remember the jungles had the swirls and all that.
Yes,
kind
it
of
was
stuff.
a very basic
Yep.
color and pattern mutations.
Yep.
And you know, he contacted us. We'd been friends with him for years, and he was like, you know, hey guys, we have this, you know, this new line of leopard geckos where we're calling them designer leopard geckos, and we're going to start selling them. And so that's where the leopard gecko thing started really exploding. And it wasn't for years and years after that before the albino stuff came out, Tremper albinos. There was a wacky dude called Rainwater that had albinos.
Yep.
And then the giant stuff started coming along, German giants and stuff like that.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you go back far enough, all of that, you can see where all of that originated from. Bob Clark was breeding Burmese pythons in the 80s, you know, when I was in high school. I don't know if you were even born yet.
I know who Bob Clark is. I know a lot about Bob Clark, so that's one that I know. Okay.
So, yeah, there's a lot of folks that have been around. I mean, there's folks that have been around for 50 years. We bought for our office a beaded lizard from Bob Applegate that he got in the late 60s as an adult. And it's in the office of Ship Your Reptiles now. That animal's over 50 years old.
And it's still rocking and rolling with that
still doing
beaded
its thing.
lizard personality. I'm a sit still
And it's a giant
until
animal.
you touch me and I bite the crap out of you.
No, he doesn't bite.
No, he's good.
Yeah, he's real friendly. I mean, he's not super interactive.
Yeah.
He's really super chill. But the idea that animal, like, a guy I know, a mentor and a senior reptile guy in our world, was keeping that animal in the 1960s.
Still have it.
And here we are in 2020.
2020.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
I'll have to agree.
Yeah, I mean, and that was before I was born. You know, guys like Bob Applegate were already doing reptile stuff, already obsessed with the world of reptiles. Now, again, once the 1990s started rolling around, that's when we all started to realize this could be a business. This could be a career.
Yep.
That was actually pre-internet. And so we were all sending mailing lists out to each other. And you were
Snail mail.
the goal of getting mailing lists from all these different sources, you couldn't even see the animals at that time.
It was just a,
You were just reading the
typed up list
description.
with the price.
Yes. You were just reading the description of this chondro python that had flecks of blue on the side. And only in your mind could you imagine what that looked like.
And then you get it out of the box and you're just like,
Sometimes it's disappointing.
oh yeah, I'm sure.
And sometimes it was amazing.
Yep.
But, you know, now with the internet, be able to take and text photos in an instant.
Yep.
I mean, we're filming a video right now.
The level of information at our fingertips.
Yes, it's
changed everything.
It's so accessible. Yeah.
Yes.
It's changed everything.
Yep.
It's changed the species that we work with. It changes the focus of what kind of species have become popular. It changes the way that you can explain like a really great biotype setup to a keeper. so that they can envision and set goals of setups and cages that are beyond doing a newspaper setup.
Yep, I can understand.
You know, a newspaper and a half log. That's been around forever, and it always drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But before we had this access to all the information and pictures and video and social media and stuff, it was hard to explain a naturalistic setup.
It'll be like a terrarium. What the hell is a terrarium type of thing? Like
how to build it,
yeah,
how to approach it, how to keep it viable.
Yep.
You know, so the access to the information has really pushed the industry and the hobby forward in a really big way.
And you know, that's, you know, he makes that great point of how the information at our fingertips has really changed our hobby. And you know, that's something that I kind of want to touch base on with, you know, we touch base of how kind of when you first got in, like how our hobby was, and take a look at our hobby now with the amount of information at our fingertips. You know, with your platform such as the Reptile Report, with, you know, with getting as much, you know, either quality information or just to have people be aware of the sheer amazingness of some of these animals. You know, Robyn, what are some of the things that you've noticed with, you know, with when you started the Reptile Report, with potentially some of the things that you've had to do to continually captivate your audience with the amount of information that's at their fingertips, you know, or just in general, you know, with the hobby, because we all know with social media, you know, there are some people that are, you know, they've been in the hobby for 3 months and they know more than a guy who's been in it for 50 years. Mm-hmm. You know, we have those types of issues that could regress our hobby. But then we have, like you said it perfectly, pioneers. And there's been so many different examples of pioneers in these last X amount of years to continually benefit the hobby. So, you know, I was interested in, you know, your thoughts with that. With where is our hobby, you know, where do you think our hobby is going in a progressive way? And
that's a multi-layered question. There's a lot to that.
Okay.
And I don't think that your audience necessarily wants to hear a 2-hour conversation about it.
Fair.
But can we boil it down to some of the basics?
Yes.
I think, like with the Reptile Report, the original idea, the seed of the idea was to put all of this great reptile information into one source, right? You aggregate everything into one easily digestible source, a feed of sorts, so people can get access to information. And originally, being a reptile breeder and a reptile nerd, like what I'm looking for is breeding information, husbandry information, husbandry exchange.
Yep.
So I can learn how to better take care of my animals, and I can share with folks how I approach husbandry.
Yep.
Like I'm in the monitor world, for example. You know, from when we started in the 90s up until the 2000s, the husbandry really evolved as we started to better understand it. And a lot of that was done through social media.
Yep.
At the time, this was pre-Facebook, pre-Instagram, and pre all that. We had reptile forums,
Yep.
Kingsnake.com.
Danger board, King Snake, Fauna Classified, my
Yeah,
stomping
so
grounds in high school.
We would exchange the information there. So Reptile Report, I was trying to improve that flow of information. Now, what I found was that with the social media world, there's positive aspects and negative aspects. And so what happened was that a lot of the good detailed information on breeding, species info, and husbandry stuff got diluted just by essentially pretty pictures. Right? Because people are interested in how to keep the animals and how to do well with them, but they're also just interested in just seeing pictures of beautiful stuff.
Pretty green tree, a big blue green chondro python.
Yeah.
How do you not love that when you see it?
So at the Reptile Report, what we realized was like the heady content, the real nerdy type stuff, got less of views and appeal, and just the pictures or video or goofy stuff got a lot of views and appeal. And so it becomes this challenge of how do you balance those things, right? Because you want to keep the audience engaged,
Yep.
but you also want to try and deliver good content. You want to try and push husbandry and the reptile hobby forward in a good, positive way. But that ended up to be a real challenge, and it still is today.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know,
Sure
we can share an article from IHS, International Herp Symposium, or a breeding article or something of that nature, and it'll be seen by this many people. But then if you put up a picture of a snake with a hat on, it's seen by this many people.
And that's because of the general broad demographic that we have following us.
Yeah. And so it's been a real challenge to figure out how do you appeal to that entire range of viewers.
That makes
right?
sense. That makes
We're not selling anything at the Reptile Report, so they're not customers. They're just viewers.
Yep.
It's just the audience.
Just viewers, audience wanting the specific type of content, which is why
And some of them want this type of content, some want that type of content. Sometimes I really dig like the spider and tarantula stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't keep anything like that, but the inverts are really fascinating to me. As it is a lot of times when you see a species you don't work with, right? You're not super familiar, you just know, wow, that's really fascinating and interesting. So I really like spider content, tarantula content, and so we'll share that at the Reptile Report sometime. And inevitably, there'll be some comments about this, not a snake, it's not a gecko, not a reptile, what the hell? Okay, it's still a fascinating animal, and that still is within our world.
Yep.
You know?
I remember speaking to you on the phone about a week ago, and what was that? What was that quote? People breeding roaches? What?
We get that. Yeah, because I find that interesting. I'm not going to keep roaches today. We used to breed them to feed to our geckos and lizards and stuff. But to the just regular person that just is like on the Reptile Report just to see cool pictures of cool species, then you hit them with like a roach post.
I'm breeding these dubias and I'm selling them. A normal person's like, what is wrong with you? But
yeah, they're like that. I didn't even realize that existed.
Yeah.
That's really, really weird.
Yep.
That's really, really wild.
Yeah.
I find value in that.
Yep.
Because you're helping to round out the view and understanding of our world.
Yep.
You know, and I tell friends that are outside of the industry, you know, I'm sure you get the same question when you meet new people, like, what do you do? It's a tricky question because you have to understand how you want to answer it to how long that conversation is going to be. But for years and years and years, it was, I breed reptiles.
Yep.
And they think, well, that's really odd. That's really weird.
Yeah.
And then you tell them, like, on the scale you do it.
Yeah.
Like, I breed, at one time we might have bred 4,000 geckos a year. Or you breed 2,000 ball pythons a year, or whatever it is. There's folks that do more than that, but that's a pretty solid number, right? And people would just be like, "Wow, I didn't know that was possible."
Yeah.
And then I would say, "Well, hold on. I have friends and customers and other folks. Their only job is to breed cockroaches, and they might ship 300,000 cockroaches a week." Then it's like a double boom because it's like,
they're like,
how is that possible?
Yeah, who would buy that, right?
Right, yeah.
It's amazing.
Whose job is it just to breed cockroaches?
Yep.
But hey, I tell you, there are cockroach breeders out there that are doing very well for themselves.
Yeah.
There are cricket breeders out there that are doing millions of dollars a year breeding crickets.
Absolutely insane.
There's so many different facets of the industry, and we need people to fill the need for the different products and the different services and the different animals in every single aspect. So the reptile world is very, very wide on the business side and the hobby side. And then what we found on the Reptile Report was that there's this entirely other audience of people, a huge audience of people that just think reptiles are cool.
Yeah. They have an appreciation for them.
Yeah.
And they look at them and they see this giant, again, I go back to the chondro, they see this giant blue chondro and they're just like, I want it. That is a beautiful animal.
A crazy colored chameleon.
Yep.
Chameleons do really well.
Yep.
They're non-threatening.
Yep.
They move very slowly. They've got
Eyes
crazy,
smaller.
they got incredible colors.
Yep.
you see somebody like Camouflage Creations breeding just world-class, state-of-the-art chameleons. And when we share a picture from that, I mean, it could be tens of thousands of people that dig on that. And it doesn't mean they have to buy a chameleon, doesn't mean they're interested in having a chameleon. They just think that's amazing, yeah.
And honestly, that is something that I love about what you do in the Reptile Report, because for the Reptile Report, it's not about bottom line. What you are about with that is, what I'm taking is, what you're doing is creating awareness. So you and I both know reptiles, amphibians, and arachnids, they have such this unfair negative stigma to them. From the disposable animal mentality, which just sets me from the people that, from the people that see a snake in their backyard, they grab the hoe and cut its head off. But
I don't want that.
Oh no, I don't want that.
I want to move them to.
Yeah, we want to move them to a level of understanding
their,
not only understanding their importance of just being in the ecosystem, which honestly that's not above most people, but some people are going to care about that, but just understand them as like they are a living thing, that deserves the same amount of respect as a fuzzy rabbit does. Because there's almost nobody's going to see a cute rabbit on a picture and they're not going to go, oh, that thing's, I don't want that. But if somebody sees a snake or a tarantula, they'd be like, oh, yeah. And with spreading that type of information in the way that you are, regardless if it's a business, regardless if it's a trend-setting thing, I think that's amazing, because that's just educating people about the animals is the first step to creating that level of respect.
Yeah.
And whether it's a very basic level of respect, it's what they deserve, because they have just as much right to be on this earth as we do as people.
What's interesting about the Reptile Report is, over the years we've grown it. It's a huge page now.
Yeah, it's like
on Facebook.
Almost a million.
It's close to a million. Yeah, it's over 800,000.
A million followers.
But say out of 800 some odd thousand, not even 10% of that is like hardcore herpers. The folks that I interact with at trade shows, or through shipping, or with selling animals. That's a small percentage of the audience for that page. There's 700,000 people that follow the page that are the folks that you're talking about. Just appreciate the animals. They just love to see great animals, new animals, showing something new that they've never seen before. That gets a lot of positive response.
Honestly, it can almost generate excitement, and it could be argued, not necessarily argued, but it could even be said that it's just yet another way that you can get people into the hobby and keeping them in a ethical and responsible way. Because all of that information, like what we talked about, is so readily ascertainable now, and it's amazing that we're able to do that.
Yeah, and that's one of the results as well, is you end up converting folks into reptile keepers. Reptile hobbies. Maybe they go and get a bearded dragon, or like these days, people are really into blue-tongued skinks. So that seems to go over really well, people buying blue-tongued skinks. Or maybe they're going to get a snake. Like, snakes are very phobia-inducing in the general public, but as they start to learn more about it, become more comfortable, it's less frightening and more like interesting.
Honestly, I feel like a snake phobia is instilled at a young age for people. A lot of times. But, I mean, not all the time, but I'm not trying to digress. But when I was a little kid, my parents see a snake, they'd be like, not today, back away, just a lady, type of thing. They wanted nothing to do.
Well, I mean, as bad as the snake phobia can be, the spider phobia is probably worse.
Yeah.
But hey, so we can all contribute to helping folks overcome those phobias. There's so many cool animals in the reptile world that, whether you like lizards, whether you like snakes, whether you're on the invert side. I mean, there are people that keep, hissing cockroaches are their pets. There are people that keep rodents as pets. So there's room for everybody, and I just want to try and be as positive as I can, and I want the site to be as positive as we can. We used to post early in the time. We used to post pictures of hot stuff is hard to post, like venomous
Oh,
stuff
I'm sure
is
you get a
very
lot
touchy.
of kickback
Yeah.
for venomous. Yeah.
But you have to understand there's a market for venomous stuff. It's not for me.
But
I've never owned venomous. I've never interacted with venomous.
There's a lot of ethical keepers too, like ethical, smart, trained keepers with that honestly help progress that hobby in a positive way, whether it's with anti-venom research or whether it's just with more information on the care of the animals to get more research about them. Because, I mean, there's a lot of medicine that comes from rattlesnake venom. There's a lot of medicine.
And there's some fascinating species, super fascinating. But for me, I'm going to interact with venomous through a site like the Reptile Report.
Yep.
Visually.
Yep.
I dig it. It's
They're cool.
Yeah.
I don't want to red spin
I don't have any need to collect them or keep them. But I'm still interested to see them and learn more about them.
Yeah. And you know, that's amazing that we can do that. And, you know,
Yeah.
following up with what you were saying, you know, with always having the Reptile Report, you know, your Exotics and your THG, always trying to have a back end of a positive. So with your multiple platforms, Robyn, you know, what is it, you know, as your platforms continue to grow and help change the hobby for the better, like what are some of your goals for this? Like, you know, is there anything that, you know, that you're hoping that, you know, with what I'm doing right now that I can continue this, or it's kind of a loaded question, but you know.
It's another tricky, deep question,
Yeah.
right? But one goal always driving me is to try and execute at a very high level. So if I'm going to be a reptile breeder, if I'm going to be a snake breeder, I'm going to try and breed the very best possible snakes I can.
I mean, I remember you telling me about that with Pro Exotics.
Yeah, that was always the goal. And there's different levels of breeding, there's different levels of dealers and sellers, and you know, there's plenty of competition at that very high boutique level of people breeding really awesome, excellent species. And that's where I wanted to be. I never wanted to be the guy breeding or just flipping or dealing the cheapest thing. That was never the goal for me, because that's not what I wanted to be in the industry for.
No, that's not, and honestly, that's not what you should be in the industry for.
If you can't execute at a high level, then it wouldn't be fulfilling for me. You know, it has to be something that can still feed your soul, right?
Yep.
You can't do something that sucks the life out of you for $1. That can't be your goal.
Like the disposable animal
Yeah.
mentality.
Yes,
owning a pet store.
Yeah, when we had Pro Exotics, one of our phrasings that I used in our slogan, on our website, on our printed material, was always no disposable animals.
And the fact that you even had to do that is,
well, there's a lot.
I know.
There's a lot of that aspect in the business.
Yeah.
But that didn't appeal to me, and I don't. You know, I'm not delusional thinking I'm going to, you know, eradicate that from the world.
No.
But I don't have to do it. I don't have to participate in that. Well, I can.
No,
do
you
my
can take
own
yourself above that level and
Yeah.
operate the level that you feel the level of professionalism and quality should be. And that's honestly, I try to carry myself that way, and that way, shape, or form.
And
I try
you know,
to.
The funny thing is as hard as you try to be super pro and execute at a level of excellence, there's still always somebody that's better than you. And so there's always somebody that you could strive to be like, right? There's thousands and tens of thousands of breeders out there. No matter what the species are you're doing, there's other folks that are executing it as well. And so there's always time to learn from other breeders and other producers. You know, whether they're doing on the feed side or the livestock side, you know, the animal side specifically. So yeah, I always wanted to be the best, but I never assumed that we were the best. I would look at other breeders in my peer group and be like, gosh, the way she's doing that gecko or that species, that lizard, whatever, we got to get there.
Yep.
You know, it's always
I want to be
aspirational.
on that level.
It's always aspirational, so there's always room for improvement.
I like that mentality too.
Yeah, and you know, to do something again like a bio setup, this is awesome for the species, but also challenging. So to be able to try and understand that approach is an aspirational thing. Like it makes you want to be better, provide better for the animal.
I really like that you said that, because I mean, I've made the mistake, and I'll straight up say that that I felt like my products are quote unquote best, and now that you've said, like, you're never going to be the best. There's always somebody or something that you can always strive to be better, and that's something that I'm going to remember. You can always improve your form, your processes, your whatever, down to the basic level. And again, I think that's great, that level of mentality that you have, and just in general it isn't something that our hobby has been missing by any means. It's just something that seems to be. I wish that there was a little bit more of a proactive approach amongst the entire community as a whole.
It's out there. You got to kind of search it out. And you have to keep in mind, nobody's perfect across the board.
Oh no!
Right?
No.
So it might just be that this guy does this one aspect better, so I can tune this aspect of my business, my breeding strategy, my production to be better here, and maybe this breeder, she does this aspect of the process better. So it's not necessarily like, I'm mediocre across the board. You can excel at all different aspects around the business or breeding or the hobby, but there's always ways to improve. And you know who's better than you, Josh?
I'm listening.
The Josh 3 years from now, right?
Yeah.
So what? And that was always the reality and the goal as well. You're like, here I am in 2003. The breeder I was in 2008 was way better than that.
Yep.
And so, if no matter how great you want to be or how excellent you execute it, if you just keep on that same path, you're the guy that's better. It's just a couple years down the road, but there's always room to improve. Like I said, if you go back to the mid '90s, early '90s, and look at our husbandry and the way we're taking care of animals, just a quick example, like ball pythons. I consider them at this point very simple to breed. It's a straightforward process.
Yeah.
In 1995, I would take a ball python male and put it in with a female in a cage and leave it there for 4 months. And hopefully that worked. And usually it didn't.
No.
When we were, in 2010, when we were breeding ball pythons, we put in the male into the female's cage for 12 hours.
That was it.
1 day maybe. Because we understood follicle development, we understood the cycling, We knew when the females are ready, we knew the males are ready. You can have a male breed a dozen different females over the course of your breeding season, no problem. But it wasn't just put it in there and go back in June and hopefully something's happened and the females grab it, right? So we were much better breeders later on in the cycle, and that's what you can achieve. Including the BioDude. The BioDude of 2023 is going to be that much better than the BioDude of 2020. Your execution is awesome. I love the facility.
Thanks, dude.
I love what you're doing. I love to see the growth that you've had in your business.
Appreciate
It's
that.
been literally meteoric. But the BioDude 2023 is going to be that much better.
And there's so you're talking about my growth and all this and that. You hold back a lot about, not a lot, but there's a lot that you've accomplished, dude, in your extended time in our community. But there was something you mentioned earlier in this video, that you have something new brewing. Would you mind sharing with my videos, just a little of my viewers, just a little snippet of what it is, what you got cooking coming up here?
Well, as you know, it's always an adventure, right? Doing the business, being in the reptile world, it is always an adventure. What you're going to do next, how you're going to grow, how you're going to move forward. And like I said, we've done livestock, I've done breeding, I've done all kinds of different species breeding. We've sold merchandise as a dealer, like online dealer, I've done that. I've done the service side with shipping, and done the informational side with the Reptile Report. But for 2020, it's time for fresh new adventures.
Always an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Always, dude. Always.
If that might be one common underlying theme in our world, is the reptile world is jam-packed with entrepreneurs.
Yep.
Right?
Love
It's
it.
folks that are self-driven,
Yep.
want to do their own thing,
Yep.
whether it's you know, Brad's boas, Mikey's monitors, Freddie's frogs, right?
Yep.
It's entrepreneurial driven, and so that's always. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was a kid, but I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I knew I wanted to have my own business.
That was true.
Yeah, and so you know your life kind of steers you that way. And so that I always knew that was going to be the reality. I just didn't know. As a kid, I didn't know it was going to be the reptile world. But, you know, 3 decades later, here you are.
Here you are.
So yeah, a couple weeks ago, I started a new company again called Redline Science, and we're literally going to tackle an entirely new adventure. I want to look at lighting and heating, tools. I'm going to spread the focus out from just reptiles. So I want to look at reptiles, aquatics, and horticulture, like the plant world.
Yep.
I see a lot of parallels in those worlds.
Yeah, especially the horticulture
yeah.
with what's coming.
There's hobby interest there. There's products that cross over between all 3 of those worlds. It's very hobbyist driven. You know, a lot of stuff happens online. The social media is very similar. You know, I worked with a lot of coral folks, and I find that world is fascinating. It's very similar.
Intimidating for me. The
unknown part.
Intimidating, yes.
Sure, but it's very similar to reptiles. It's folks that are doing coral breeding or propagation in their spare bedroom or in their basement, in their garage, in a small out facility. Yeah, so I see a lot of parallels between all 3 of those worlds, and so I want to, you know, explore it and see what we can do. You know, Redline Science, see what I can build it into. Make smart choices, make smart strategic partnerships. I'm working with some new folks that I think can bring a lot to the table. You know, I'd love to work with you on different aspects of it. It's all about your strategy, how you want to approach your business, whether it's breeding geckos or breeding colubrids or breeding cockroaches, right? You develop a strategy, you identify who your customers are going to be.
Your demographic.
Yes, your demo, how you're going to reach them,
how you execute.
what you're going to provide to them. And then for me, for so many years now, it's about who your partners are. Not necessarily business partners like investors necessarily, but strategic partners and relationships. These other folks in the industry that are your peers, many of the folks that have done it before and they're well into it, and they're willing to share info with you. You know, if you go online, you can certainly, we promote dozens and dozens of small breeders every week at the Reptile Report.
I love that.
That was part of the goal,
Love
is
that.
to help small folks reach a much bigger audience, right? But there's a lot of exchange in, you know, between breeders. Whether you're interested in breeding crested geckos, or you're breeding leopard geckos, or you're breeding colubrids, whatever it is, you can get so much information sharing with strategic partners, with other high quality breeders that are doing what you want to do, right? So, you know, I'm going to look to foster those relationships in this segment of the industry now, and see what I can do with that. And I'm excited about it. It is a new adventure, which is, without question, is a bit daunting.
But that's the whole point.
A bit frightening. Yeah, but that's the adventure part.
Honestly, as an entrepreneur, you got to be down to take risks. You got to be down to just be like, you know what? Let's go for it.
Let's go for it.
You know, I gotta tell you, man, we have a lot of good videos coming, guys. Robyn and I are gonna have another, you know, sit down, talk about some other stuff that we wanted to cover with you. We're gonna have a tank build video, cover some red-eye crocodile skink. Cool. And I gotta say, I feel humbled and so lucky to have someone who's been a key part of our community here at the BioDude Houston. It feels amazing. And without him, I wouldn't be here right now. Without every single one of you following me, supporting my business, helping me accomplish my dreams, I wouldn't be here. And I really want to thank y'all for everything. You know, you guys know me. Check out my website. You know, Robyn, give them your spiel.
My new company doesn't have a website yet. We'll get it up. You can always see the Reptile Report on Facebook or TheReptileReport.com. I'm stoked to be here as well. I think the video's going to be plenty long already. What they're not going to see is the other 10 hours of talk that we've had about
that's
these
good,
same
though.
subjects
Yep.
and on a deeper level.
Yep.
I'm always down to chat about that stuff.
Yep.
I'd love to see the industry move forward.
Yep.
I'd love to see new entrepreneurs come online and create great businesses. You're definitely unique in what you've done so far, and the growth has been crazy. And yeah, again, I'm excited to see Josh of 2023.
Feels great. Well, Robyn, I really appreciate that, guys. Come check me out Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., Saturday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Bayou Houston. The Dude abides.